Hello, welcome to Feasting on the Word for this week. This is January the 25th, 2023. We link ourselves into something that has been part of the faith tradition almost from its very inception, at least since the beginning of the canon of Scripture came to be in about the 4th century or so, where people in faith communities would gather and take small passages of Scripture, and in order to appreciate all that they shared with us about this journey of life and our connection with God and faith, we take a small passage of Scripture and read that a number of times, interspersing it only with silence to grant an opportunity to reflect more deeply on it. We take up that discipline in a little more contemporary way by reading, again, a small passage of Scripture, but using 4 different translations of that passage. Also interspersed with silence, a minute following the first reading, a minute following the second, a longer period of 3 minutes following the third, and then we conclude the discipline with a 4th and final reading. It is likened to feasting on the Word in the sense that as we read it the first time, it's like taking the first little taste of it. And as we read it a second time, it's beginning to savor the flavor that it offers through its words. And then a third time, beginning to incorporate it into our life and to be a source of energy for us. And then finally, a 4th and final time. So let's jump into our discipline for this week. Our passage comes from James chapter 1, verses 2 through 8, beginning with the New Revised Standard Version. My brothers and sisters, whenever you face various trials, consider it all joy, because you know that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let endurance complete its work, so that you may be complete and whole, lacking in nothing. If any of you is lacking in wisdom, ask God, who gives to all generously and ungrudgingly, and it will be given you. But ask in faith, never doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. For the doubter, being double-minded and unstable in every way, must not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Our second reading of James chapter 1, verses 2 through 8 from the Message translation. Consider it a sheer gift, friends, when tests and challenges come at you from all sides. You know that under pressure your faith life is forced into the open and shows its true colors. So don't try to get out of anything prematurely. Let it do its work so you become mature and well-developed, not deficient in any way. If you don't know what you're doing, pray to the Father. He loves to help. You'll get His help and won't be condescended to when you ask for it. Ask boldly, believingly, without a second thought. People who worry their prayers are like wind-whipped waves. Don't think you're going to get anything from the Master that way, adrift at sea, keeping all your options open. Our third reading of James chapter 1 verses 2 through 8 from the Contemporary English Version, with our longer period of silence to follow, a time in which we are encouraged to turn to God in prayer. My friends, be glad even if you have a lot of trouble. You know you learn to endure by having your faith tested. But you must learn to endure everything, so you will be completely mature and not lacking in anything. If any of you need wisdom, you should ask God, and it will be given to you. God is generous and won't correct you for asking. But when you ask for something, you must have faith and not doubt. Anyone who doubts is like an ocean wave tossed around in a storm. If you are that kind of person, you can't make up your mind, and you surely can't be trusted. So don't expect the Lord to give you anything at all. Our fourth and final reading of James chapter 1 verses 2 through 8 from the New International Version. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.